advisory boards.
Today is October 5th, 2021, and the time is 5:31 p.m. I'm calling the City Council to order for the joint workshop meeting with the Traffic Commission and Main Street Advisory Board.
Okay, moving on to item number 3 is receive citizens' input. And please note, unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the commission from responding to any comments. Any citizens like to have input? Step up to the microphone, please.
Can the board speak now? Can we speak now, or?
Sorry?
Can it speak now or for open peace, or?
For the citizens' input, yes.
What about the board meeting?
Do we speak now, or?
Well, it's the
The next item is presentation and discussion and action by the boards. So if we have no citizens' input at this time, we'll move on to item number 4, presentation, discussion, and action by the Traffic Commission concerning downtown traffic plan.
Mr. Mack. He's coming in.
They're just doing presentation. I think you can do it. I guess we discuss it.
Does staff have a presentation? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. We have before you this evening a joint work session discussion amongst this body as well as your Main Street Advisory Board and your Traffic Advisory Commission. The subject at hand tonight is an effort underway as collaborative between the City of Paris, the staff, and TxDOT, District Engineer. I'll see if Dan Taylor's here this evening. Here he is, back here. Dan, could you come on up to the podium with me, please? I guess so. Struggling with something, that's for sure. So we've developed a implementation strategy here that has been discussed with our district engineer with TxDOT. By the way, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them for the overlay on Lamar Avenue today that's nearly finished, a great improvement to our downtown entryway. But essentially, what we're talking about is a staged implementation strategy to bring forward the approved plan by the City Council in 2018 to adopt a return or a reversion back to two-way traffic. And what that entails is a temporary 30-day trial, roughly. We have some dates assigned with that in terms of start and stop, but an implementation to require all traffic entering the downtown square to stop. And I'd like to invite Dan to talk a little bit about some of the strategy that we've come up with here and how we might go about accomplishing that.
Thank you, Andrew. As you said, I think y'all started back in 2018. I think the Tool Advisory Group came and did a study, and they were looking at kind of doing some downtown revitalization efforts. I think that in y'all discussed with TxDOT what some of this would do, and we were wanting a study to determine what the impacts are, because I don't think the Tool Group had done any engineering study on how it impacts traffic or anything of that nature. So y'all, I think the first study y'all did was looking at, let me see, going from two-way to one-way, removing the signals and placing stop signs and removing the inner the inner left turn, and they kind of modeled them. We had some questions about some of the data, so we looked at, we felt comfortable moving the inside thing, expanding the fountain.
Excuse me just a minute. Could you move the microphone a little bit closer?
Okay, is that better?
Well, it's hard for the audience to
Okay.
hear
Sorry.
if you're not talking into it. Thank you very much.
So anyway, we did that, and then there was a subsequent study that was done to, I think that was the two-way configuration. So we've kind of met, and last time we met, when was that? In August. And we talked about, the department's, our priorities are safety and mobility. In the cities is safety, economic development, and then reducing speed. So we kind of looked at it, and obviously there's a couple things. I want to go from one-way to two-way, and then in addition, putting the four-way stops. And we looked at how could we phase this in. We had some questions about the study as far as some of the assumptions they made with traffic that we weren't sure. And the problem is that when you go all in, there is no turning back. So we're like, how can we test this to determine, A, is the information get appropriate, and then B, is this what everybody wants, before you spend a lot of money and a lot of resources into it. So what we decided, or what we kind of considered, is what if we, instead of using the signals, we go four-way stop. And what we were looking at is Lamar at First Northwest, Lamar at North Main, and then Clarksville at First and Southwest, and Clarksville at South Main. And then, but considering Lamar coming in, that stop sign is probably gonna impact people. It could potentially back traffic up. And the issue you have with signals is when people are gonna go through there, and then they're gonna just clog the intersection. So we felt like we probably need to put the four-way stops up, extend that to First, 2nd, 6th, and 8th, just to make sure that anybody that's wanting to cross there for any reason, for emergency purpose or whatever, that we've got a way to go through and people aren't just blocking the intersection. So that's what we kind of did. One thing, I know in our previous meeting, we talked about 30 days. After talking to our district traffic engineer, for it to be a formal study that the department recognizes, it'll have to be we need it to be 90 days.
Okay, is that the full four-way stop length?
Yeah.
Or is it monitoring before and after?
It's go from signalized to four-way stop for 90 days to get a good, obviously the first couple of weeks, people are, you don't really see what normalized traffic is at that point in time. So that's what that would be, is 90 days for that.
Yeah, appreciate you getting that clarified.
Yeah, and I know that we talked about we can talk about some of the nuts and bolts. We've got counters, so we can provide the counters. We talked about getting counts to figure out how it impacts traffic. We'll put the counters on our system. One thing that was discussed in the meeting, and something that wasn't in the study, is how will this impact y'all's other routes, like Pine Bluff? I mean, they're going to obviously have increases to traffic volumes. A, how does it impact them, and B, are the facilities suited for that? So I know that we talked, and I think y'all got a few. We can put the counters on our system, monitor that, and then if y'all put the ones on y'all's system, that would be a pretty good partnership.
Right, and that'll be the strategy that staff will continue collaborating with TxDOT to implement this on this trial basis. What we're looking to do then in terms of schedule is we're before the Traffic Commission this evening for them to provide a recommendation to the City Council. So this is their regularly scheduled meeting today. So we're asking them to provide a recommendation on this trial. Again, as Dan alluded to, a way to essentially try this out, see how it works before we invest a great deal of money, whatever that may be. The trial is also to determine, do we need to really invest a lot of money? Will stop signs work on the system, thereby allowing us to eliminate some of the traffic signals and slow traffic down, which is really the main goal on providing the opportunity to, stop, look, and shop in our downtown, which is the slogan that we've come up with to implement this. The Chamber has also been cooperating with us on this. They've developed a flyer piece, so to speak, and we'll be rolling that out following a determination tonight to move forward with this. Then next week, we would have the Main Street Advisory Board, their meeting. So I invited them here to be collaborative part of this discussion, as well as the council tonight, so that they'll take action next week, and then it would come before this body, the council, and the last meeting in October to move forward, which would then allow us to establish a start date of November 15th, and we would then run 90 days from there into February. With the assistance of my fingers, I can count the months there. So that's the intent, that's the plan. This is a very low-cost type of way to give this a try. We're not changing the traffic patterns from the current one-way system the way they are, but it does allow us to do a number of things. Allows us to evaluate the stop conditions, the safety for pedestrians using the crosswalks the way they currently do without the guided protection of the crosswalk signals, to determine if the cars and the pedestrians can safely integrate with one another, allowing things to change in favor of bringing forward the reversion to the two-way traffic plan as approved by the council. So that's the summary of the intent here. We're pleased that TxDOT is open and willing to cooperate with the city and allow this to roll out. And I think at this point, we would like to have an open dialogue amongst all bodies and see if you have questions or where you'd like to continue the discussion at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Mack and Mr. Perry. We appreciate it very much. I think we should start with the Traffic Commission because this is a traffic issue, but just please use the microphone there or come to the podium so that all the audience and the recordings can hear.
Okay, so at this point, we're opening it up for discussion amongst the three panels. Is that correct? Okay. Anybody on the Traffic Commission make comments?
Just a couple things and input from either the DOT or tool fellow. Are we the guinea pigs, or has this worked somewhere else, tried somewhere else, and has it worked or not? And is some of the stuff already in place down there, the work already done? If it ends up not going to two-way traffic, will some of it have to be removed?
Okay, so that's a great question. In reality, what we're doing is leaving everything the way it is. The lights all four lights entering the square from all four directions and leaving the square would blink red for the people entering the square. And that would occur, again, over this 90-day period. The only additional expense and effort will be the installation of traffic counts, monitoring. As you just heard our district engineer indicate, the counters would be supplied on their system by TxDOT. We would also work with them for installing stop signs, 2 stop signs at each of those locations to reinforce the need to stop. And then the city would then use our equipment to monitor and count other roadways in the system to determine if this change has any additional impact on our other roadway system. Okay.
Back to the original. We can't be the only ones that have had this situation, so has it come up before, and what have their outcomes been?
No, I can't really speak to that. As the city's new planning director, I did actually initiate in Sulphur Springs in the beginning of my career the implementation of one-way pair systems. The tool design study went in to that community prior to here, convinced the city fathers there to revert that system back to a two-way traffic, and I don't believe that they did an interim step. We're suggesting that we attempt an interim step here before we go to a larger expense on just making an outright change. And if it doesn't work, then we go back to the drawing board.
And was there any feedback from Sulphur Springs on what they did?
I think they embraced the recommendation of the tool design group, and they reverted back to the two-way system. They also expanded their park into the downtown square, took up half the parking that was available in a downtown square. So they did some fairly radical changes 40 years after they implemented the one-way pair system that was put in there.
Any other members, Traffic Commission?
I'd like to thank everybody here for letting us speak. My main concern has always been, the reason I joined this Traffic Commission was because of the lane changes going through the intersections were very obviously dangerous. And that's the thing I'm most adamant about. Putting up stop signs I don't think is going to be helping the situation any. But as I said, the zigzagging through the intersections is my main concern. It is a safety concern. I was just handed earlier, a little while ago, the number of accidents, and in 4 months we've already equaled the last 2 years of accidents. And I would just wanted to mention to the council, downtown commission, that I believe the square was never intended to have parking on the outside of the square. If you go to any of the intersections and stand on the right-hand lane of Main or Lamar and look across from South Main to North Main, you'll see that the parking spaces are immediately in the way. This is the cause of having to zig left then zag right as you go through the intersections. I strongly believe that either the elimination or limitation of the parking spaces on the outside of the square would be a direct improvement. Like I said, the square was never intended to have parking on the outside of the square. If we opened that up, there would be no crooked lanes through the intersection. You could drive straight through. This would be safer, more efficient. The streets are there for traffic flow, not for restricting the traffic. Encouraging people to stop and look and all that, I liken it to if someone had a drugstore downtown and they were upset that people were walking past their drugstore and not stopping in to buy things, and the store owner goes out there and puts a bunch of broken glass on the sidewalk so he could sell more Band-Aids. I don't see the sense in it, but I work with the committee and commissions. I'm just one person, although I am an engineer. But the main thing, I also want to point out that most of the traffic going through the square is going through the square, not to the square. So, for example, before they messed up the square, I was driving through it most every day going to and from work. I'm not shopping on the square. I'm using Lamar and Clarksville as a thoroughfare to get to and from my destination. When you do things like the stop sign or the crooked intersections, it interrupts the flow of traffic, defeats the purpose of the traffic. The purpose of traffic is to expedite the flow, not restrict it. Forcing people to stop on the square, I don't think will increase the volume of customers and such. And I also noticed on some of the things someone said, flying through the intersections at 30 miles an hour. It's a relative thing. If you stand around the square and see someone drive by at 30 miles an hour, it seems like they're flying through. But if you go out to a highway and see someone going by at 30 miles an hour, it seems like they're creeping through. So it's a matter of perspective. Doing 30 miles an hour, you can't go through the intersections at 30 miles an hour unless you're on two wheels trying to zigzag. But this is mostly my personal observation and opinion that stop signs are just going to impede the flow further. So I just wanted to share this with the council and all the commissions here today. Thank you.
Would you mind tell us your name? I didn't get your name.
My name is Lloyd Fry.
Fry?
Fry, F-R-Y.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My name is John Darst. I'm on the Traffic Commission. I did have one question. It was about the timing of the study. Like going through the holiday season, is that the right time to do it, or has any thought been put into about when we do it? Maybe that's strategic, I don't know. But I did want to question if that's been thought about as far as when we start the study and it going clear into, January, February. I don't know the normal traffic patterns. I don't know the answer to the question. I'm just curious if we've thought about when we strategically need to start it to get the best data. So.
Any other comments or discussion from Traffic Commission? Any of the other panels?
I think I would like to respond to that comment. I think the notion of bringing this forward during the holiday shopping season is a good test of how we allow traffic to move through this area in relation to folks that may be downtown shopping. That's kind of the whole idea. And so the 90-day period, we'd see the first 30 days during that peak season. The next 2 months would be, after that shopping season would have been brought to a close.
All right. Would Main Street Board like to make comments, presentation?
Yes. Hi, my name is Carrie Daniel, and I have lived downtown for about 12 years, 10 plus years. I've lived downtown, I work downtown, I have a son downtown. I am always downtown. And in the 10 years, I have never felt safe walking around downtown because of people flying through. It's relative because the streets are smaller and are not meant to be done 70 miles an hour. When you're on the highway, you're meant to go 70. At the beginning of September, I was actually in a wreck where I was hit by somebody going the wrong way down First Street. I was going down South Houston. He came down first, was flying through and hit my car. I ended up, my 2-year-old son was with me. We were okay. Ended up totaling our car. So obviously it's a problem because also that within a 4-week period of my accident, I walked up to, saw at least 5 other accidents because people are going the wrong way, because even people who live here, my sister-in-law is always talking about how confusing the one-ways are, and she lives here. So visitors are definitely confused by our one-ways. They tell us that in our stores. A lot of the increase in wrecks, I believe, has been because we did have so much construction going around downtown with expanding the plaza, expanding that, and those little zags. I've watched people, there are some people who can't look at a line on the road, but a lot of people, it slows them down, which is the intent of that little zag there. So as somebody who has lived downtown, works downtown, and I know there are several other people in this room right now who are extremely supportive of at least trying this, at least trying something, because like I said, I've lived here for 10 plus years and it feels the same now as it did 10 years ago when I moved here. And something we should think about with cost is the cost to our citizens who are being hit by other people going the wrong way. I had to buy a new car and right now is a terrible time to buy a car, y'all. Nobody get hit because it's awful. But that's just something else to think about, is how it is affecting our citizens, and that the people who are just trying to get from one end to the other, they don't care about downtown, they're not coming downtown, they're not our focus. We're trying to make it safer for the people who are downtown, and just trying to get people from one end to the other through downtown is not a way to make our visitors and our residents feel safe in that area.
My name is Glee Emmett, and I'm on the Main Street Board and on the Historic Preservation Commission. I've been in this town for 44 years. You don't know how excited I was when the tool design people came, because I heard something I wanted to say here: pedestrian friendly. This town is not pedestrian friendly with people driving like they're on the speedway. I go to the beauty shop on North Main every other Thursday, and I'm scared to get out of my car because lumber trucks are coming down there. I don't know why they're bringing lumber trucks downtown, but they're downtown. This is a destination town, and I'm mighty proud to live here, and I feel like this is the right move in the right direction. Our city council adopted the tool design recommendations, and I feel like we need to support it and to go forward. I also have a business downtown, and I agree with Carrie. I'm on a one-way street. I sit there all day long when I work and see people going the wrong way on that street. And I can't get up and run and tell them, but, you know, they've got to figure it out for themselves. We need better signage, and thank you for the opportunity.
Hello, my name is Don Yarborough. Me and my family has lived in Paris since 1976, so we've seen a lot of changes. My feeling on this is that small changes to the citizens and the motorists in Paris is going to be big changes. Of the mind of Mr. Fry. The traffic pattern that you got going on in the plaza now is extremely confusing. It's very confusing to other motorists. I'm still confused by it. Of which lane am I supposed to be in to be able to go straight through, or which lane am I supposed to be in to go to turn, and you end up having to weave in and out of both of those lanes to try to get from the east side to the west side. Okay, and you have to keep in mind that half of Paris lives on the west side. They have to go to the east side to go shopping, which means that if they're not going around the loop, they're going through the plaza. Okay, so that's right. They're not going to. They're using the plaza as a thoroughfare to go from shopping to their home. Okay, and if you're tying up traffic in the plaza to have lookers of shops and stuff like that, then that is actually it is actually hurting the traffic flow. I mean, in my opinion, and especially if these lanes are not straight. If you're having to, because right there at Lamar going towards Bonham Street, Bonham Street, US 82 going that direction. You have two lanes that right after the light, closer to the Lamar County Appraisal District, close to there, it zigs and it opens up into three lane. You go from 2 to 3, and from that zag there, you have people in the right lane trying to get in from it's hard to explain, from that lane to the lane over so that they can turn left, or there's a lot of zigzagging going on there, and there's a lot of confusion, and people having to slam on their brakes and stop and watch, and they're having to be very cautious of other drivers. I mean, that's a lot of confusion. And other places on the other side, going the other direction, where there's zigzags going on, there is highly confusing too. And I just want everyone to take deep counsel and see this with extreme caution, because the motorists in Paris are going to be highly confused, and all of a sudden the traffic lights are gone and there's stop signs. They're not going to know what's going on unless there is like a mass communication out to the public to let the public know what's going to transpire here ahead of time. Because otherwise you're going to have an uptick of accidents. You're going to have an uptick of pedestrians getting run over. There's pedestrians getting run over already that we've had in the recent past. And really, to tell you the truth, in doing this during the holiday season is absolutely not the right time, because you're talking about peak traffic season, and the holiday spirit is going to be into people, and there's going to be a lot more traffic on the road if this is done cautiously, it needs to be in off-peak times, where there is, there's no madness during the holidays, because the holidays are very commercial. It's very capitalist, and everybody's going to be rushing through. They're going from one shop to another, trying to get those Christmas gifts, and they're, it's an extreme traffic situation. It's really the wrong time to mix things up on the traffic. That's just me personally, but anyway, that's my piece on it.
I would like to comment on one thing Mr. Yarbrough just mentioned, and I didn't allude to this during my presentation, but there is an intent here with this plan to be rolled out. There would be extensive communication to the public. We're hoping that this will be taken up as a news story in the newspaper. We intend to involve the radio. The chamber, once this is determined to be a project to move forward, intends to notify their entire membership through their constant contact or their system that sends us out. We also look for opportunities to discuss this and make this as publicly visible as possible. And one of the examples of that is the fact that we've set this up on Zoom tonight so that folks could attend that have downtown businesses. Some are here, some are, I see, attending via the Zoom meeting. So there is a definite intentional effort there that's planned to mass market this to the community that lives here or is here visiting during that communication.
Hello all, thank you for providing this opportunity to speak on this issue that I believe is very important, especially to the downtown community. My name is Shelby Gillum and I'm on the Main Street Board. And although I've not lived here as long as Carrie, Glee, or Dawn, I've been working downtown for a full year now, and I will have to say some of the most frequent complaints and frustrations that I hear from folks around downtown are parking and traffic. People don't feel safe downtown. Business owners don't feel safe downtown. Families don't feel safe downtown. Even going to the splash pad is a little risky. I've heard this on multiple occasions. I do believe that the stop sign and two-way traffic implementation is the right answer to this, and I'm certainly excited to see what comes of the 90-day study. I also believe that downtown is part of what makes Paris the potential to be a wonderful tourist destination, and I think if we're ever going to accomplish that, becoming a tourism destination, we've got to do something to make our downtown atmosphere more inviting and more conducive to visitors. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, this is John Darcy again. With the commentary, I just wanted to add a little discussion here was, we're 20-year residents, or I am 20-year resident, and my wife is born and raised here, so we've been around Paris a while. Love Paris, love downtown, love coming to shop downtown. We're down here at least every week or two. We just love supporting the downtown area. With that said, the zigging and zagging drives us crazy. But I understand the desire. I want it to be pedestrian friendly. I think the stop signs are a good step towards that, probably, depending on the outcome of this study. Not sure about the two-way streets, but I could be, I'm level-headed, I could be convinced one way or the other. Point being, I think we need to keep in mind that it's not all one way or all the other way. We might need to implement parts of it, depending on how the studies go. So I think as people on the committees, we don't have to be all the way one way or the other. Maybe the zigzags need to go, maybe they don't. Maybe we need stop signs, maybe we don't. Maybe we need two-way, maybe we don't. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. So if we could just keep that in mind and keep the best interest of Paris in mind, I think that growing downtown has obviously got to be part of that. I think that making downtown pedestrian friendly has to be part of that. How we accomplish that, that's what's on the table, right? So I think if we can keep rounded around those central efforts and find those common areas, that'll be beneficial to us all. So anyway.
Could I ask a question? Could someone explain the zigzag? I mean, I've experienced it, but I'm wondering why how that happened, or is that something that could be resolved later?
I can help a little bit with that. Go ahead, Dan, you do it.
The zigzag was actually, I can't remember if it was AECom, but the intent was to actually, it was requested by the city, and the intent was to slow traffic down. And I think the intent was if you slow traffic down, you make it safer, which is good in practice. But the problem you have is if 5% don't do that, you may actually, I think what y'all are seeing is it may be actually creating accidents. And I think that some of y'all have alluded to that. But I think the intent was to slow traffic down. If you can't go that fast, it's just like when you kind of encroach things, if it's tighter, people slow down. And to accommodate additional parking.
I can't hear.
This is Lloyd Fry again. I just wanted to mention something that I forgot to mention, that first and foremost, safety is the issue. Not just for pedestrians, but also for the automotive traffic. And the reference I was making earlier about flying through downtown was that if you go the speed limit 30 miles an hour, it appears in these small streets and confined spaces that you're really doing a lot faster than the speed limit of 30 miles an hour. In the perspective of, if you're on a highway and saw someone going by at 30, it would seem like they would be creeping. But the zigzags are so difficult that if you did some of them, if you went through them at 30 miles an hour, you'd be screeching your tires. But pedestrian and automotive safety, with the zigzags and the very confusing lane changes going through the intersections. I spoke to TxDOT several months ago, and when they came out and looked at it, I was told that the lane alignments, or some people call them puppy trails, the zigzags, were not within TxDOT standards. So I don't think it was completed appropriately. But as I said, instead of complaining about things, I'd like to offer solutions, and moving the parking on the outside of the square closer to the square to where you can go through without a dramatic zigzag through the lane change is going to help the safety of the vehicles. And like he said on the Main Street Board, it's confusion. People in Paris are easily confused. We're stuck in the past. To me, it's not St. Joseph or Paris Regional Medical North and South. It's still St. Joseph and McChristian. If you say Paris Regional North, they go, what? And you say McChristian, go, oh, yeah. But another possibility for us to think about is, are there alternate routes? Could we widen Pine Bluff maybe, or take one to Kaufman Street or something? We're kind of hemmed in this area, so there's not much choice or options that we have, but we need to be creative and think of some options. And I think we've had some great input tonight, and it's a lot for us to all think about. Like he said, it's not all this or all that, but somewhere in between may be an answer. I'm glad we're working on this, and it seems quite productive tonight. Thank you.
Hello, Don again. Just want to let you keep in mind motorist psychology when it comes to red lights and stop signs. People depend on the stop signal. They depend on that technology to tell them when they can and cannot go, so that the choice is not left up to all the other drivers that are coming opposite directions at them. That's what a stop sign does. A stop sign takes the technology away, the safety and security of that technology to tell them when they can and cannot go, and it leaves that choice up to each individual vehicle and that driver, and how good that driver is, or whether they understand that the first one to reach the stop sign is the first one to go. It just depends on if that person is aware of that. Okay, or if left has the right of way, or right has the right. You're leaving that up to the individual. Okay, just to let you know that people depend on the technology psychologically on those stop signals. And that prevents a lot of confusion, prevents a lot of traffic accidents. That's the reason why the technology exists in the first place. Okay, that's just mine.
Okay, any further discussion?
My name's Susie Harper. I've lived here for 50 years. I was thrilled when the Tool Group came in. If any of you were in those hearings, you saw them explain how we got downtowns that were thoroughfares and the effect on small towns and big towns across the United States. The Tool Group they changed Chattanooga, Tennessee, they changed Richmond, Virginia, they changed Ann Arbor, Michigan, they changed Sulphur Springs, and they changed Mount Pleasant, and not Mount Pleasant, they changed McKinney. And what I want to tell you is I know too many people who leave Paris to go have fun in those cities. They leave and go. The lady who helps me goes, she goes to McKinney and she goes to Sulphur Springs on a regular basis because our downtown doesn't do the same things that they do there. And I heartily support this. Anybody who's ever been downtown, as I have, your car door is in danger when you open it. People drive way too fast. And as the Tool Group said, people are not shopping. They're not looking in the windows to look at things. They're looking at the next light ahead of that light to see if they can beat all those lights to get through town. So it's not only unsafe, and it's very bad for commerce for our downtown. It keeps us from being the destination town that is really the hope for this community. And so I really hope that everybody will embrace this. We're going to work really hard and put a lot of stuff out on the sidewalks to slow people down, more corn, more pumpkins, more hay. and I'm sure there will be a good education program, because that was a good point that was made. And it will be an adjustment, but we can't actually do the same thing we're always doing. We work really hard, and there's a valiant effort going on downtown. There's some really wonderful stuff happening. And all those people who are opening those shops deserve to have a front curb where people aren't driving 50 miles an hour down the street. And that's what they do. I don't know, I'm speaking for my bakery companion here, because if you are at Paris Bakery or any of those establishments down First Street, they accelerate off that light, and by the time they get to the motorcycle shop, they're going to kill somebody. If you're coming into town and you pass Bywaters Park and you go by the Gibraltar, it is like a wind tunnel. People just go as fast as they can straight into town. And you're worried about somebody with the light. I mean, really, the potential for damage is huge all the time. Just park yourself on a corner downtown and watch. So, anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'd like to pose a question to our collaborative partner, Dan Taylor, or either of the two Dans that are here with TxDOT tonight. During the 90-day period, would it not be feasible to, or would it be feasible to make adjustments to the original plan that we implement on day one, or would that have to remain static through that 90-day period?
I mean, as I said at the beginning, the ultimate goal for us is safety. If we're seeing that something is unsafe, then we obviously would do whatever it took to make it safe. I don't know if I answered your question. Including stopping. I mean, if it turns into and that's what makes this this is a very cheap way to see how this works. Versus going two-way, I mean, that's striping, a whole lot of other stuff that's really expensive, where this is a pretty cheap way to see how this would go. It's kind of like instead of doing a cannonball in the middle, we can put our foot in and see. And like I said, you're right, that we may come up with some stuff and say, can we make some incremental changes? And if it's for a safety reason or it makes sense, yeah, we probably could. Without having our district traffic engineer, I don't know if that would increase the duration of the study or not, but yeah, I think we could. We obviously need to do what it takes to be safe.
I was going to make a point that, all right, so the city of Paris had two-way traffic downtown, and that's the way it was. The loop didn't exist, and we had these roadways that were highways. As of 1917, they became highways. And so Then cars began to exist in downtown. We had Belk and we had Sears and we had other department stores and things like that. And it was difficult to get through downtown because of the configuration. And so after a lot of time and effort and money, a loop was built around downtown, and nobody came downtown anymore because it was too hard to get through. All right. So the city of Paris approached TxDOT in 1974 and said, hey, what can we do to increase traffic flow through downtown? We're losing. Belk is going to move out there to Marabou, and Sears is talking about, they've already pushed out past 6th Street, and things were getting, we needed to figure out how to increase traffic downtown. So the TxDOT, or the highway department at the time, worked with the city of Paris in order to do that. And we did. And we've got far more traffic comes through downtown Paris than comes through Sulphur Springs, or frankly any other downtown in our 9-county district. That includes Sherman, and that includes Denison. So we achieved what the city of Paris came to us to achieve. And everybody has made a very valid point. Slowing the traffic down will make it feel safer. It will also severely decrease the amount of traffic that comes through downtown Paris. It works both ways. All right, we did what we did to increase traffic flow. We undo it, we're going to decrease traffic flow. And good or bad, I'm not here to say it's good or bad. I'm just saying understand that there's a lot of unknowns about the traffic study. That is a known. Traffic flow will go down. So where do they go? Because they're not going to be on a TxDOT system. They're going to be on Pine Bluff. They're going to be on Graham. They're going to be on Sherman. They're going to be on Kaufman. They're going to be on 6th. They're going to be on 8th. They're going to go somewhere because they're going to try to avoid flashing red lights. And what shows you that is you can see the massive jumps and changes in the average daily traffic downtown in Paris if the city is replacing a water line. If the building on the square is getting a new roof and they've taken up a lane with a dumpster. You see these massive changes in traffic patterns because people will avoid it. So understand, we would be remiss if we didn't point out the one thing we know that is going to happen is traffic will drop. And maybe that's good, maybe it's bad, but that will happen.
Okay, any further discussion?
I think the council, go ahead.
I just have a question, not an opinion, just a question. My name is Kelly, and I have a store downtown. So where does the liability shift in the event of an accident? So if you're in a 90-day study and you don't have all the signage changed and you don't have the traffic lanes striped for that change and you're just in a study, in the event of an accident, is the liability on the driver that was going the wrong way, or does that shift a liability to the city in any way?
That's the deal with our study, is that everything's going to be legal. I mean, all we're doing is putting the signals flashing all red and putting stop signs everywhere. So there shouldn't be any striping or anything that should be any different. Yeah, all we're doing is just making it a stop condition. So there shouldn't be any. Everything will be legal. So it's not like there's. I think your question is if something's not to standard and something happens, who's liable? Is that your question? I would think at that point in time, it's going to go to traffic law, and if you run a stop sign, it's just like any situation of that nature. But it's a good question.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I guess I'd like to come back to the item that's been brought before you this evening. You've received a lengthy report that I've prepared. Again, this is a collaboration between TxDOT and the city staff. We're moving it through the process according to the way we normally do business here in the community. At this point in time, the recommendation before this body from staff in cooperation with TxDOT and the chamber is that you provide a recommendation in support of this 90-day study to the city council this evening. Thank you.
I had a quick question. but if I may.
Yes, please, I want to hear from all the council if they have comments.
So, first and foremost, great input. I mean, I think that we can all echo the same sentiment, and along with the rest of our community members. We hear this day in and day out through a lot of individuals within our community. So, thank you. I love this collaborative effort. This is commendable, and we need more of this. So, I hope to see this more in the future. But this is great. I know that safety was addressed, but the other thing that I wanted to ask Andrew is this. You know, we have a lot of stakeholders within our downtown. These are going to be our best friends to advocate for this and to kind of survey to understand, you know, hey, based on the folks that come to our downtown shops and our investors downtown, how was your experience? Secondly, you know, did you have any difficulties? Will we be having a survey or an assessment with our stakeholders downtown to kind of understand a little bit more about what they're picking up from their patrons?
Actually, that's a great question. What we had hoped as a part of this, that through our Main Street Advisory Board, we have a number of volunteers that hopefully will step forward to help with some of the monitoring during the study time period. I hadn't thought about the idea of having the downtown business owners or shop owners conduct survey. I think that's a marvelous suggestion, and I'm sure that we could develop something to help further that in cooperation with our chamber partner.
Sure, and I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, right? As an individual that would own something downtown, a business or what have you, or if I live there, right? I would want to understand, one, is this safe? Is this the right thing? And then secondly, you know, we may be thinking, hey, this might be the right thing. And then we realize with conducting this survey or conducting this exercise that, hey, maybe this isn't the right thing, or maybe we want to, twist it a different way to shape it in this direction. Whatever the case is, I think that having good conversation about this and conducting a good survey would really help with that, along with those business owners and those that stay downtown. I'm trying to think. I had another question that I was thinking of for you. In terms of safety, there's one other question I had, and I didn't know if this was something that would be a text question or with the city, but I'm trying to think of, I know blinking red light, we're stopping. The big concern that I have, and I think that's wonderful, a lot of people get distracted, right? You have kiddos in the back, you're looking around, you're trying to see, hey, where am I going to park? There's a lot of distractions on the road. Is there a possibility that we could potentially put up a stop sign where that stoplight is also, just to kind of remind them, hey guys, stop?
Well, that definitely was the plan. We intended to add stop signs two at each intersection. Normally they're placed, on the right and then the left at the proper text out stand. Maybe let them comment as well. We also wanted to make this relatively simple. So again, the question's about, does this work or doesn't it? It's a baby step toward implementing the reversion back to the two-way traffic plan. So if the evaluation is the stops aren't working and signalization is still important, then at the end of the 90 days, boom, everything goes back to the way it was with very little cost or expense, like, our district engineer has alluded to. So in terms of that question, I guess that Dan, did you want to maybe respond to an overhead stop sign up on the signal apparatus?
Yeah, that's what we'd said, is we were going to put stop signs at every location because, as you said, it is going to be confusing. And I believe that they were talking about having some sort of campaign to get the message out, because I think that is critical to letting everybody know. If somebody referenced that, and I think that's really valid. And I think, like you said, talking about having a survey is valuable too. Like I said, those are all things to be considered. I don't know if y'all considered talking. I think that we're also going to get a lot of comments from people who are going through too. And I don't know how y'all can, that's where y'all got the unique situation that y'all have to balance those.
Absolutely.
May I address Mahir?
Yes.
I don't know if you realize what the name of my business is. It's B Suite Paris, Texas Gifts. Most of my customers are tourists. and they're coming to
Exactly.
this beautiful, beautiful destination town. And I'm all for this. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
gonna hurt my business at all.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think whatever we can do to bring people downtown, to help those business owners, to facilitate a good environment for people to dine, to eat, to relax and get away, and to advertise our town is what we need. But safety is at the forefront, right? And the other question that I had in terms of the businesses, right? We want to make sure that it is safe. So whatever the survey comes out to, or whatever the study comes out to, I'm very curious to see, kind of like what Mr. Fry was talking about, of if there would be a suggestion or recommendation for any alterations on the sides based off of what Tool has put forth. But I'm just curious. I mean, I think he brings up a good point. I think it would be interesting just to see all the ways to go around it, and then also to work with the businesses downtown. I think this needs to be a fair partnership with all entities.
Other council members?
Good evening, everybody. I respect everybody's opinions and thoughts and feelings on this situation we have, but I'm going to admit, my sisters and I wanted to have some fun, so we went to Plano downtown, where it's a big district where all the restaurants, stores, you name it. And you know, everybody in the city is in a hurry. And I know this is Paris and Plano, apples to oranges, right? But when we went downtown where the restaurants were, where the stores were, and we went in and out of stores, for some reason, everybody slowed down. There were stop signs. There were no lights. And, of course, they have valet parking downtown. I'm sure we won't get that. But even though everybody was in a hurry in a big city, this downtown area where we went, because people was walking everywhere. It looked like ants. I mean, that's how many, and this was on a Saturday when we went, but people were enjoying going in and out of the stores, cars, and you had to, like pedestrians had to, because we had to cross the street to get to other stores. And hopefully Paris does this too, but the vehicles, they actually went slower. The traffic was slower with the stop signs. And, I mean, it was no congestion. People were they respected the pedestrians first. It was pedestrian friendly. And remember, Plano is a lot bigger than Paris. And it was actually nice. You know, you didn't have to worry about getting ran over. And this is just a personal experience that I experienced downtown where, like I say, restaurants, shops, stores, you name it, they had it. And the flow went okay. The cars took the turns and they stopped for the pedestrians, and then they did have stop signs down there. So the culture is different from Paris and Plano. I know that too. I know somebody's probably thinking, we're in Paris, we're not in Plano. But it's the same concept of being safe, but having fun and enjoying your downtown. So, you know, again, I respect everybody's thoughts and feelings, and I'm not going to complain about any of it. The driving, they did not have the parking, was not like Paris. They did not have the cars parked where it made it difficult for you to open up your door and you might get your door knocked off. So that's the difference, and they didn't have the zigzag like we have, but it was doable. So, and it was safe. You felt safe crossing the street.
Thank you, Ms. Stone.
I had one other question just to ask, and I know you kind of touched on it earlier, but what exactly is the advertisement for this? What are the modalities that you'll be using? Because I know that obviously there's the Paris News, there's all these media outlets, but then also is there a way that we could work in concert with TxDOT to, I don't know, have a mass communication to say, hey guys, just a reminder, we are conducting this change at the moment. Is there something because not everyone gets the Paris News, not everyone is on social media. I'm just curious.
Also, as a part of our intent with this campaign, the city would definitely put something up on its website, front and center, so it's easy for folks to come and see. We also want to develop a single point of contact to take calls and comments, concerns. That's yet to be determined, but we intend to create that opportunity. I also see as a part of the outcome here, our next steps. At the completion of this, I will be working with our staff in TxDOT to produce a report. You know, the inference of a study is assumes that there will be a report that's produced at the end of this. So the report would be the assessments, looking at the traffic counts, looking at the safety in terms of the pedestrian vehicle interactions and so forth, so that we have a meaningful document to bring back to our council to consider with regard to how we move this forward to adopt the ultimate plan that the council has adopted, which is to revert to the two-way traffic system. Again, this is an interim step. It's a low-cost effort, and if it doesn't work out well, we go back to what we had with very little difficulty. We also can evaluate as a part of the study the costs based on using stop signs versus traffic signalization, which is an increased cost of about $500,000 per intersection.
Ms. Knox?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Well, I haven't lived here as long as Miss Emmett or Mr. Yarbrough, but I got here soon, shortly thereafter, as fast as I could. And as long as I've lived in Paris, I've always lived in the historic downtown area. And I can't tell you what a strong advocate of this I am. One of the happiest things that ever happened to me was the Tool Group coming here, outside of the rejuvenated efforts of the downtown merchants and the businesses down there. I think both collaborations of the programs are going to just be wonderful. I understand that the traffic pattern is very confusing right now, and I was one of the ones who called Sherry and complained about the crazy traffic patterns. And at the time, it wasn't from Sherry, but it was from somebody else, and I can't remember who that was, that said this was in anticipation of the two-way traffic that's going to come up. So it may make sense once the two-way traffic is implemented. But until that time, it's designed to slow folks down and to not have them run through downtown like a raceway. I also have family members who are complaining about the traffic because they want to run through downtown like a raceway. You just can't have it all, you know, and it's been said many times before, and I've read it on social media, and I've read it on social media by lots of the downtown merchants about how wonderful it is in Sulphur Springs. Well, my father's paternal family is from Sulphur Springs, and I've been going to Sulphur Springs every year of my life. So I know what that transformation is downtown in Sulphur Springs, and I just don't see, we're so much better suited for something like this, and better slowing down the traffic and allowing the slower, to allowing the slower pace downtown. Somebody made the comment, and I believe it was one of our TxDOT representatives that said that the traffic is going to decrease downtown. When you slow it down, the traffic is going to decrease. And, well, maybe we're going to get the kind of traffic that sticks around downtown Paris, that comes to downtown Paris for the purpose of coming downtown Paris and spending their time and enjoying downtown Paris, like me, who lives there. So, I cannot speak highly enough of this, and I'm going to do everything in my power to support this and to make sure all my friends support it as well.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Good evening, everyone. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Traffic Commission and Advisory Board for coming together for something that's very important, which is safety. I too drive through downtown every now and then, and it is difficult to understand which way you're supposed to go. I agree with Councilman Stone and the gentleman out there. Whatever we decide, we're coming together as a team. We're all just one team here in Paris. So whatever we decide is just for the betterment of Paris, and safety is definitely paramount. So I support whatever direction we go on this, as long as it's safe for everyone. So.
Thank you. Well, I am 100% convinced that stop signs will be safer. We may need a little traffic enforcement at the beginning. I'm looking at Assistant Chief Tuttle. An experience I had, I believe it was the last wine fest we had. My husband and I were standing on the corner there by Jack's Burgers, waiting to cross. There were 400 pedestrians downtown, And that traffic light, I saw 2 pickup trucks racing one another to get through the green light before it turned yellow. And I see it over and over and over again. It is a racetrack. And I see 18-wheelers not making deliveries, but just going through. That's what we built the loop for, I thought. And we need to support our merchants and our restaurants and give a place where citizens and visitors can come, feel safe, and like Ms. Stone said, have a good time. That's what we want in our city. I get tired of saying to people, there's stuff to do in Paris. They say, they're always saying, there's nothing to do here. Well, pick up the Paris news or go on social media and you will find there's plenty to do. Come downtown. And even in a pandemic, our downtown, I think, is thriving. And I'm very pleased that this is being considered. 100% support it. All right.
I just want to say one thing. Okay. Tanner with Main Street. There was a question on how we were going to get this out to our community. A thought was that usually when a storm comes through, it knocked out our water. Remember when we sent out those mass texts and let everybody know what was going on? That's a way to reach out to our community and let them know what's going on. Another thing is that I just wanted to say, I go to Sulphur Springs quite a bit, and never once when I'm walking around Sulphur Springs, I get out of my car and I don't go back to it until I'm leaving. Never once walking on the side of the street do I think about cars, and they don't have stoplights. Here, we have stoplights, but I'm always cautious going across the pedestrian walk, everything like that. So I think that the stop signs coming to Paris and eliminating the green lights will help slow it down quite a bit, like Sulphur Springs. And people do the same thing I do, park your car and don't go back to it until you're leaving. And that's pretty much all.
Thank you, Tanner. Another thought I had on getting the word out is if the city could put a blurb at the bottom of the water bill, because 99% of our, or more, of our residents have water, and that's a good way to reach every household. Yes.
Honestly, I think one thing that'd probably help is to put some message boards up like several weeks in advance to let them know, because y'all said that most of the people are driving through downtown, not to downtown. So I think that people driving through would read those message boards. That might be a good way to try to get the message out. Yeah.
Also, Chief, those terrible signs that tell you how fast you're going, what about putting some of those downtown? Do we have space to do that, and do we have the machines? Or is that a TxDOT thing?
The Paris Police Department, we currently have what we call a radar trailer. It sets up and it projects your speed as you're coming through.
Yes.
So that's something we could set coming into the downtown area to let them know what their speed is so they know to slow down.
There's sure people that need to know how fast they're going. It's very safe, and it's not, I'm standing here still and they're going. I see them accelerate. I saw it at lunch today, crossing from the Mexican restaurant back to City Hall and crossing, what is that, South Main. We stepped back. The truck was accelerating to make the light.
Mayor, member council and boards and commissions, the point that you brought up about the question about the trailer, the radar trailer that displays the speed, Assistant Chief Tuttle and I had discussions about that, and we had discussions about locating it likely on Lamar Avenue, somewhere between where you enter the square here and in this 2-block area, where it would make the most sense. We have a signal here at I believe this is for Second Street. So this is a signalization here at the splash pad. So it may be mid-block between these two signals in this location of First Street southeast. Might be a location for it within the striped areas where these were supposed to be bump outs to reduce the distance of travel by the pedestrian. As part of the tool design plan that was done, they were not built; they were just striped initially, and I think it may have been a technical issue or cost containment at the time. So this was the area discussed for that. Also, our traffic department has that equipment as well. It's not the display trailer like the police have, but that will also be employed and used as a part of the monitoring and evaluation of the study during that time, which can be placed at different locations to collect that data.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Yes, sir. Could you briefly explain to us how this survey is going to be conducted? Will be somebody on each corner, and will they be able to explain to people walking and driving, they're going to have questions? Will they be prepared to answer questions and tell them it's temporary or whatever? Is there a team of people, or how's that work?
That's an interesting point. This idea of the survey just came up. As a planner, you'd think I would have been thinking about a survey, but that didn't show up in print yet. I think it's an excellent idea. The idea of placing it in the merchant shops, I think, is a good thing to allow them to collect that information. I'm assuming our Main Street Advisory Board can collaborate with the Downtown Business Merchant Association for that sort of thing. We're also hoping that during this study period, that we will also have volunteers literally out on the street doing physical, visual observations of the traffic and pedestrian interactions and recording some of what they're seeing out there on the street. Of course, staff will be doing some of that as well. From the city, I would assume TxDOT would employ that type of activity as well during this. So that's definitely going to happen. I'm also thinking that when they're out doing some of the observations and looking at the activity of the motorists and the pedestrian interactions, that might also be an opportunity to survey folks that are just random out on the street and be able to collect that type of information from the folks who are shopping downtown and visiting and get that type of information. So we'll definitely look into, as we move this forward, developing that type of survey that will be consistent for one study for all of the surveys that are taken. I think it's, again, an excellent suggestion.
Hey guys, so me here, I think that was a great point, getting just making sure that we're communicating effectively everything that's going on. But I think as a promotions chair and with PDA, which is the Paris Downtown Association, not the other meaning for that, and Sherry, Shelby, and I think that we could get a poster going and maybe do some kind of, put this on your story on Instagram and things like that, at least for the younger community, because that may be, obviously, not all young people, but I think maybe some of the young people are the ones driving fast through downtown. So I think that if we got that out, maybe on the city website, as you said, Andrew, and then maybe on the water bill, I think that's a great idea. But also maybe as PDA, we could come up with a poster like we do for every of our events, and then get, all of the shop owners and then people who live downtown, Mr. Matt over here, to post that on their Instagrams and Facebooks and things like that. That is a huge way to get people to know, right? I think so. Oh, and PDA and Main Street would be great people who sit on the board to go around and conduct those surveys, at least with the shop owners and the people who live downtown, as we all have very close relationships with each other.
Any additional comments? Okay. At this time, then, do we have a member of the Traffic Commission that would like to make a motion in regards to the short-term traffic stop project for the downtown square? Wendell?
I want to make a recommendation to City Council that we proceed with the 90-day interim study.
We can't hear you, Mr. Moore.
I'd like to make the motion to the City Council that we go ahead and, with the 90-day study for traffic stop in the city of Paris.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Unanimous?
All right, thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'll adjourn the Traffic Commission meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
All right.
Meeting's adjourned.
Sorry. I need a motion to adjourn the city council.
So moved.
The Main Street doesn't have.
Main Street.
Can I get a motion to call Main Street Advisory Board to order or adjourn? Second.
Now,
All right.
motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your input.